Standing by to join us, we have Olalekan Otun. He's a broadcast journalist. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
All right, let's begin with the Punch newspaper. But before we take stories on the Punch newspaper, happy World Press Freedom Day. I would like us to begin with that first. Now, globally, the world is celebrating all journalists around the world, the press entirely. Now, talking about press freedom, would you say that we have, or that the press has full freedom to carry out their jobs?
Yeah, presently, as we have it in Nigeria, Nigeria is the leading country in Africa in press freedom, followed by Egypt and other countries. Nigeria, as we are now, we're enjoying press freedom. This has been the foundation laid by our founding fathers, journalists, our founding fathers, journalists like Apapakoli and the rest, post pre-independence and post-independence. And as of now, 21st century, Nigeria has one of the freest and vibrant and dynamic press freedom of press in Africa. In fact, the leading in Africa, ranked the first.
Well, we will get back to that press freedom you just talked about in Africa and in Nigeria. But in the meantime, let's take a look at the future of journalism when it has to do with COVID. I know that a lot of fields are beginning to work from home. Now, do you see that happening? Even in journalism, actually, some TV stations, some radio stations still do work from home. But do you see the future where almost everything could be done from home when it has to do with journalism?
No, we have what is called the hybrid. Don't forget that as of now, until June 14 next month, the UK is on lockdown, Turkey, India is on lockdown, and Canada is currently on lockdown, and some other countries like that. For investigative journalism to be practiced effectively, we will need some of our people on the field to cover assignment, and but majority can actually work from home, from their desk, sending a story, making use of internet technology to facilitate adequate reportorial and reportage of events in Nigeria. So it's going to be an hybrid of both physical coverage and technology, helping us to cover.
So we can never get to a point where journalists would have, because I know that during lockdown, some stations, even High Impact TVs, a lot of workers worked from home, right? And I saw some other stations where their news anchors worked from home. But is this to say that we will never get to a point where anchors or journalists would get their jobs done from home? I understand the part where you have to be on field, you have to get the stories right as they are breaking, but what I'm really concerned about is the future of journalism when it has to do with tech.
If God help us, so far we are not on total lockdown. Even when we are on total lockdown, journalists still need to be on the field. Who covers the field work? Who goes on the street to cover the stories? Who interviews the health officials on their beat? Who visits the hospital? It is the journalists that will still be on the field. What we need is, what we should canvass for is adequate insurance cover for members of NUJ nationally in Nigeria, so that the job can become very easier for all of us. So we need insurance cover, health cover for journalists, comprehensive insurance health cover for journalists, and another angle.
I am struggling to hear you. Would have you join us again? I am actually struggling to hear you. We're actually talking about World Press Freedom Day, and would have that conversation when our guests join us again. That was Olalekan Otun. He's a broadcast journalist. But let's continue with the review on the Star newspapers. We have Ruto and Kibaki era economists agree on 2022 power plan. That is on the Star newspapers in Kenya. Ruto said the trickle-down model denies millions of citizens the opportunity to realize their full potentials. Elbow replacement surgery saves NMS workers' arm. DPP to determine actor's fate after fatal city shooting. How press freedom is eroding as media struggles to survive. We will have that conversation later on. Our guest joining us again in Lagos, Olalekan Otun. Good morning. Thank you for joining us again.
Good morning.
All right, so we're having a conversation on World Press Freedom Day, and you were actually talking about how the press can actually get their job done without hitches. So go ahead.
Yeah, like I was saying, I said we still need to practice hybrid, combining the physical coverage of news events and using technology for reporters, broadcasters from the various homes. But we have enough challenge. One of those challenges is the inadequate supply of electricity 24 hours in our country. So these are hindrances to this practicability of having from home. We still need a lot of editors to be on the field. We still need a lot of reporters to follow health officials who covers the patients in their wards, in the hospitals, who follows the governors on the field. So they're still going to be hybrid. They're still going to combine both physical presence and technology reportage from home.
Okay, aside the electricity hike, I also know that internet could be a major challenge because it's going to be difficult to work from home if you have electricity and you don't have internet to connect to the studio. It might be a little bit challenging. But let's talk about the survival of members of the press or gentlemen of the press. Let's talk about the survival. On the Star newspapers in Kenya, it says how press freedom is eroding as media struggles to survive. Now, there are conversations that people who work in the media, like journalists and other members of the press, actually struggle to survive. Do you agree with this? And what can be done?
Sure. The aftermath of COVID-19 has exposed the world economy into turmoil. Presently, we have newspapers that are owing journalists backlogs of salaries up to 6 months, up to 8 months, as we are speaking now. What I would suggest is that the newspaper organization, which consists of Nigerian Guild of Editors.
Just go ahead. Go ahead.
Newspaper Professors Association of Nigeria, NUJ, and the Guild of Editors should come together and do a summit, dialogue, and find a way around it. Newspapers that are owing media houses that are owing journalists should be compared or should be pressurized to pay, at least start to defray because of backlog of salaries that they're owing, COVID or no COVID. Before backlog has been there. During COVID, it has escalated. So we need to start looking at the welfare of journalists in Nigeria. In fact, let me suggest also, according to my supervisor, Professor Dayo Alao, he suggests that Nigerian NUJ should take comprehensive cover for journalists in Nigeria. And this government can kickstart by ensuring that journalists practicing with government media houses, mostly broadcast stations, should start by giving insurance to these journalists. Whenever there's an itch in salary is coming up,
okay,
journalists will easily the insurance company and draw salary. When we had the 14 months of closure of the Ghana newspaper in 1998, I can recollect vividly. Insurance brokers of Nigeria paid compensation, workmen compensation. They paid me workmen compensation for being out of job for that 14 months.
If I may, Mr. Otun, now, is that not the reason, talking about insurance and increase of salary and the rest of that? Now, is that not the reason why we have the NUJ and other bodies that has to do with the press? What are they doing to ensure that these things are actually put in place?
There's already a move towards that effect during the year of Dr. Kazim Akureti of NUJ Lagos chapter. So what we need to do now is to concretize this arrangement, get insurance cover for journalists if Lagos starts as a preceptor, other journalists in Nigeria, other media houses, other AUJs, other chapters in Nigeria we go that way too, and that we can cushion the effect of COVID on journalists in Nigeria.
Now, let's link it to the May Day, that's the Workers' Day, because this morning Senator Chris Ngige came out to say that he might be suing some governors for trying to renegotiate the 30,000 naira new minimum wage approved by the federal government. Apparently, some states are already paying. Some states are planning to renegotiate the 30,000 naira minimum wage. Now, that is to say that a lot of states. Last week, we got a report from Rivers State that they've been owed month-long backlog of salaries. The teachers actually came out to protest. Now, in commemorating Workers' Day 2021, what do you think can be done in that regard?
Let me start by saying it's highly appalling that our governors in Nigeria wants to renegotiate the minimum wage, the meager minimum wage. It is not even up to enough to take workers back home after the month's pay. What I would suggest, the salary being drawn by the legislative body, the lawmakers, should be reduced. The security vote should be reduced. Thereby, we have enough funds to service essential like salaries and concurrent lists in each state in Nigeria. That's my suggestion.
All right, let's move away from labor story. Let's talk about the federal government fund runs into crisis. Now, it's on the Punch newspaper. Federal government vaccine fund runs into crisis as AstraZeneca scarcity hits India. So apparently, the spike of COVID-19 in India has resulted to scarcity of the AstraZeneca vaccine. Now, AstraZeneca vaccine per dose cost $4, while the Pfizer vaccine costs $20 per dose. Now, the federal government is actually trying to resort or is trying to use Pfizer vaccine because that's what is available. Now, how many people do you think can afford this per dose, a $20 per dose, compared to $4 per dose vaccination?
We still have to resort back to the subsidy. That means we're going to have subsidy on vaccine again. Versus where we are having it free from the federal government, which is highly commendable. The federal government should be commended for giving us vaccine against COVID free in Nigeria. When it comes to higher price of the one of $20, $40, and then we need to cross the bridge by asking those. It will become affordability. Those that can afford it, we go for it, and those that cannot afford it, we have to wait a bit. But we pray that we don't have what is called the third wave, like what we are witnessing presently in India, in Turkey, and in some other countries. Vaccine is essential. It has become a fundamental human right now for globally, for citizens of the global citizens.
All right, very quickly, let's move away from the story and talk about insecurity and employment in the country. Now, Governor Fayemi Kayode actually made a statement telling Nigerians to stop agonizing, but organized. He's telling Nigerian youth to get involved in the electoral process rather than having to complain later. Now, would you say that Nigerian youth are not given the opportunity to be involved in this electoral process? Because I know about some young persons that have actually run for office and they didn't get through.
Our leadership structure, our political communication, our hierarchical system. Let's start from collection of form. Which young man, which new graduate can afford to pay millions to acquire form, either in PDP or APC? If we are a laughing stock globally all over the world, we should democratize this. Youth should be encouraged to participate in politics. The issue of governmentalism should take the backstage so that we can inject new blood, new breed into the political system.
So you're saying that the starting from the form, you're saying the money should be reduced so that it is affordable.
Exactly. The money for forms should be reduced and make it affordable, if possible, free for youths to participate in politics. They need to be encouraged to bring in, arising from the NSAS agitation. That's to show us that there's a missing link in our political structure. We should not wait to that time that the youth will start calling for revolution. We've already seen it. They have turned to banditry, they've turned to kidnapping, and we need to rescue the Nigerian youth as at now.
Talking about banditry and rescuing people who have been kidnapped. The DSS released a statement this morning. The DSS are saying that Nigerians should stop unsavory and inciting utterances that could lead to war in the country. Do you agree with the DSS?
I agree with the DSS, and I will further state that the federal government should de-escalate the tension that we are seeing in the country now. How? The federal government, there's a big gap between the media agenda and the public agenda and the public opinion. The federal government should de-escalate the tension by going the public opinion way, asking for the El-Rufai Ahmed Committee paper of the APC. This paper should be collected. The implementation of this report will lead to restructuring of the country, and automatically a few of our problems like banditry, Boko Haram, agitation for separatism by IPOB, by Oduduwa Nation will be adequately taken care of by so doing.
You are in tune with restructuring the country. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. This restructuring is the way out now. But there are different definitions of restructuring. We are not saying the restructuring
what is your definition of restructuring? What is your definition of restructuring?
True federalism has been stated over 25 series in the Guardian newspaper. The federal government should need to take a look at this, study it. Each state, each region should have to control resources. The federal government should release in the federal list the policing. We should have what is called the state police. We should have state control of resources, and each of these states, each of these regions can now contribute to the federal government. Policing, community policing, state policing, we should start as soon as possible to stop banditry, to stop kidnapping, to reduce agitation for separatism in this country.
Okay, so in regards, let me link the statements that Tinubu made this morning regards restructuring that you've just said. He said Nigeria cannot afford another civil war. If you go through the story in the Guardian newspaper, you would see him saying that all we need is one Nigeria. There's no point coming up with restructuring and the rest of it. But this morning, this is coming from Tinubu, and he is saying that we cannot afford another civil war. Now, do you agree with Tinubu?
I agree with my leader, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, with due respect, but his position on restructuring, we need to take a critical look at it. Restructuring is the way ahead. And the issue of balkanization of Nigeria, the unity with patriotism, we need the cohesion. We need the unity and diversity of this country to move forward. We need good leadership come 2023. We need a free and fair election. We need the rule of law. All of these, the federal government is aware of it, and I think that is the way to go. That is the way forward.
Okay, I wish we could take more stories, but thank you for joining us. We have to go. Thank you, and happy Press Freedom Day. Bye-bye.